Indeed, well, welcome to our little orchard. This is a variety called Somerset Red Streak. Very tannic, a little bit of sharpness. Good old West Country cider apple being grown here in the south. So, all the best, long live English cider.
Excellent, thank you very much, Stephen.
If you do not add any yeast, then natural yeast will kick in. But this is unreliable.
Right.
You give them a wash, you get rid of any, slug mess, bird's mess or just mud off of them. And once you've done that, you crush them, then you will have a considerable cocktail of wild microorganisms. Some of these people will drink cider which to me is filthy and undrinkable and say, oh, which is okay. They're wrong, it isn't. So if you want, I think cider should be clean.
Yes.
I mean, even if you take a grape like Chardonnay, you can get quite a lot of different flavoured wines just out of the Chardonnay grape. And apples, it's a bit the same, really. They've all got different flavours. And you cannot make good cider out of bad apples, but you can make bad cider out of good apples. Same as food, if you, you can make a stew with cheaper ingredients. I mean, I don't know if you're vegetarians or anything. No offence intended, but if you butcher a cow, then okay, there's some sirloin steak, there's some fillet steak, there's also some shin beef, and typically, shin beef is about 12 pounds a kilo, and fillet steak is about 50 pounds a kilo, and there's a reason for that. The nutritional value is the same, but again, with your fillet steak, you can flash fry it and it's very tasty if you like that sort of thing, but with your shin beef you've got to stew it for 2 hours. The nutritional value is the same, but the aesthetic value is different. This apple I'm picking up here, by the way, is Dabinett. Dabinett is generally considered to be the best general purpose cider apple. It's a nice mix of, if you were planting if I was planting a new orchard to make some cider, if I was planting 10 trees, I would want at least 4 of them to be Dabinett, because you can see it's a quite big. First of all, it's a big crop, a big crop here. Secondly, the apples are a decent size. The best organism that ruins cider is the vinegar, and that needs oxygen. So it's very good to exclude oxygen from your fermentation, and indeed from your stored cider. To exclude oxygen. There's bags about this online if you haven't already. There's a cider sickness called rope, and if you've ever tasted it, you'll never want to taste it again. This is something that it turns the cider into a sort of mucousy stuff. So if you pour it, it pours like string. Oh right. It's horrible. I've never had that since I had that a few times before I learned better, and to avoid it, basically you want enough acid in your original blend.
Should I add citric acid?
If you've got enough acid in your cider, you don't ever need to add acid. I mean, personally, I've never added acid. Again, a bit of sulphite will help to prevent ropiness.
You've got a good picking rate.
Well, it's just doing it for a while. If I'm getting on my hands and knees, then I've got big hands as well, so I can grab 3 apples with one grasp. This tree here...
Is this a graft? Have you grafted this one?
No, that wasn't me, that was a friend who did that. I don't know how it's going. I've just left it alone completely. The idea is that this should have some roots in it, so that ideally they'll be able to cut it off here and stick that in the ground and it will grow. That's up to them, I wouldn't have done it. This is Harry Masters Jersey, and this is again, it's a very nice apple.
A beautiful colour.
Oh, it's lovely, isn't it? I mean, you won't get. Yeah, I'll give it a shake. I don't mind, within reason. I'm not going to break any boxes down. Dabinett, you can't go wrong with, and I would certainly pick some of these as well. This variety, do watch out for stinging nettles. This is Tremlett Bitter, and this is this tree is notorious for only cropping every other year.
Oh wow!
I mean, one year you'll have a massive crop, and the next year you'll have none. But which is not obviously a great advantage, but people still grow it because it's a very good. It's a very good variety. It's very bitter. This is a typical example of really quite a bitter West Country cider apple. But it's got very little acid in it, so you need to balance it with some acid. Yeah, I hope they get much more heavy rain. But if you go, I mean, we haven't got many. I mean, I've picked everything I want. I've made 200 litres of cider this year, and I've got some more apples picked. And I probably will make some more. I might even make some today, depending on how the day goes and how I feel. But yeah, get as many of these as you can. There's only one tree of Kingston Black, so I would take the lot. There's not that many, but I would take all you can.
Despite them not looking so pretty aesthetically, they're better apples than these, you would say.
Yeah. But interesting, if you look at the crop of, I mean, that's Harry Masters Jersey, Dabinett, Kingston Black. If you look at the relative amount of fruit on the ground under each tree,
Yeah.
and also these are bigger, so these are more valuable. So if I was planting a new, let's say we had to move away from here for the rest of our lives, and I had a little bit of land and I had enough land to plant 10 apple trees, I'd probably plant 4 Dabinett and 2 of these Harry Masters Jersey. I probably wouldn't plant a Kingston Black because it's just not a very reliable cropper. It's a bit like Cox's Orange Pippin. I mean, a lot of people, I wouldn't say everybody, but people who grew up with Cox's Orange Pippin and who know what a lovely apple it can be when it's properly ripe, would say, yeah, it's the best apple there is. A lot of people would take that view. But it's a hard apple to grow. It's not a heavy cropper, and it's very susceptible to a number of apple diseases. So Kingston Black is a bit like that. I mean, people say, yeah, it's the best cider apple, but would you rather have 40 kilos of Kingston Black or 100 kilos of some other cider varieties which maybe aren't quite as good, but they're much better croppers? But yeah, so this is Harry Masters Jersey. I mean, people argue still about what Jersey signifies. It may well be to do with the island of Jersey, which of course are also known as Les Îles Anglo-Normands, and they're off the coast of Normandy, which is famous for its excellent cider. Interesting thing about the French, the Norman cider, I mean, the French do produce full strength cider, but I mean, typically English or British cider would typically be about 7 or 8% alcohol and bone dry.
Yeah.
Whereas the French, particularly in Normandy, they have a different style of apple production. They have these very old orchards with very big trees in them, and they graze cows underneath them. And they don't pick up the apples until quite late. I remember we went over to Normandy once with the family, and I remember it was Halloween because there were some kids dressed as Dracula coming into the shop, trying to scrounge some pastries or whatever. And they were picking the apples up just then. We could see one of the little Pont l'Evêque, one of the little cheese towns, Yeah, the cheese goes with the cider. They graze these cattle. They graze these brown and white cows in the orchard.
Delicious.
And
They eat the apples, I imagine.
Yeah, but they use particular apples. They don't feed them a lot of fertiliser. Don't feed them a lot of fertiliser. And
should we grab this one?
Yep. Yeah, and they don't press them until it's quite cold, and they often add a bit of enzyme to it as well, and the cider forms a big, thick, gloopy mess on top, and you get a clear fluid underneath. And what they do then is they rack the fluid off. They rack the fluid off and then ferment the cider slowly. And what happens is that it's a bit mucky, isn't it? Most of these actually are pretty clean, aren't they?
We're hoping to press on Sunday.
That'd be fine, no problem. I mean, some of these, you always pick a few which will have you know, a little injury on them. Little bit of, yeah, just a little bit of muck like that, but it's not a big deal. All you need to do is just put them in. I mean, something like this is fine.
Yeah.
Just like a little bath.
Yeah.
A little bath of water and just jug them up, jiggle them up and down. I mean, the only way to sterilise them will be to soak them in sterilising solution. I can guarantee no sane cider maker on the planet would think of doing that. You probably would like to keep some sort of record of what is going in your blend.
Yeah. It's because it is a chemistry, a science to it, so it'd be good to have the exact amounts of each ingredient and
or at least
element.
At least approximate.
Do you want to transpose those into a bag or a box? Or?
Yeah. So that's Harry Masters' jersey. I meant to bring some paper with me to give you an idea. That's Harry Masters' jersey, and that's Dabinett. And those are both bitter sweets. They've got a bit of acid in, but not very much.
Stephen, I've brought a drone with me, so I was wondering if I could do a quick drone shot of your.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Stephen.
Oh wow. That's a big wasp.
Yeah.